All right, let's kick things off with a huge question, one that really gets you thinking about what a good life even is. Seriously, think about it. What if you could just hit delete on every bad day you've ever had, and you'd know for a fact that no more bad days are coming, ever? A life where every single moment is perfect, just for you. You could become a rock star, write the great American novel, climb Everest, fall in love for the first time 100 times over. Any success, any thrill, any feeling of pure happiness, it's all just there for the taking. So here's the choice, right? This endlessly perfect, totally fake existence, or this, our amazing, chaotic, and yeah, sometimes really painful reality. If that perfect world felt just as real, would you plug in for good? All right, let's really get into this. Now, this whole idea, it's not some new sci-fi concept. It actually comes from a really famous thought experiment in philosophy, one designed to make us figure out what we really want out of life. So, back in 1974, a philosopher named Robert Nozick came up with this thing called the experience machine. Picture this. There's a machine you can plug into for your entire life. It would feed your brain a stream of perfect experiences, so real you couldn't tell the difference. You'd think you were living this amazing life, feeling all the joy, but in reality, you'd just be floating in a tank somewhere. And look, Nozick didn't cook this up just to be weird. He had a specific target in mind, a super old idea called hedonism. That's the belief that at the end of the day, pleasure is the only thing that truly matters. I mean, if that's true, then plugging into the machine isn't just a good choice. It's the only logical choice, right? But is it? Well, Nozick himself had a pretty strong hunch. He guessed that most of us would hear that offer and say, no thanks. He argued that there are deep reasons we choose real life, warts and all, and he broke it down into 3 main points. Okay, so first, we want to actually do stuff, not just have the experience of doing it. There's a huge difference between struggling for years to actually compose a symphony versus just having the machine zap the feeling of accomplishment into your brain. Second, we want to be a certain kind of person. Think about it. Someone floating in a tank can't be brave or kind or funny. He called them an indeterminate blob. Our character comes from our actions, not from a simulation. And last, we crave a connection to actual, authentic reality, something bigger than just what's going on inside our own heads. And this quote right here, it just nails it. The real value isn't just in the feeling of winning, it's in the act of winning. It's the whole journey, not just getting the destination beamed into your skull. But what if Nozick's take isn't the whole story? There's a more modern argument that says, wait a minute, maybe we don't reject pleasure at all. Maybe we just have let's say, a more grown-up idea of what pleasure really is. So you can actually break pleasure down into 2 categories, kind of borrowing from another philosopher, John Stuart Mill. On one hand, you've got lower pleasures. These are sensory things, the taste of amazing food, a hot shower. The machine could give you that stuff 24/7. But then you have higher pleasures, and these are totally different. They take real effort, thought, imagination. You have to earn them. And that brings us to this really cool idea called intentionality. That's basically the pleasure you get from the process, the struggle, the focus, the hard work you pour into something. It's not just about the trophy at the end. It's the satisfaction you get from the doing. So the big idea here is simple, really. The total pleasure you get from reality, that's the result, plus the pleasure from all that intentionality is actually more than what the machine can give you. The machine just hands you the result, but it cuts out the entire journey, which is where a huge chunk of the pleasure comes from. And this quote sums it up perfectly. Maybe we're not rejecting pleasure. Maybe we're just demanding more of it, a deeper, richer kind of pleasure that you can only get from, wrestling with the real world. Okay, so this is all fascinating philosophy, right? But for about 50 years, that's all it was, a thought experiment, a what if. Well, that's changing, and it's changing fast. The hypothetical is literally becoming a reality. The pieces of the experience machine, they're being built right now in labs all over the world. The modern name for it is Full Dive VR, and the concept is wild. You use something called a brain-computer interface, a BCI, to completely bypass your eyes and ears and plug a virtual world straight into your brain. Your consciousness just goes into the simulation, and you can control an avatar just with your thoughts. And don't think this is decades away. Look at what's happening already. We have AIs that can spin up an entire explorable 3D world from just a sentence of text. And at the same time, we have other AIs, AI agents, that can actually understand those worlds and move around and do things in them just from simple commands. Okay, so remember Nozick's big point? The whole we want to do things argument? Well, here's the crazy modern twist. The tech is getting so good that we could generate the perfect world and then have an AI agent do the doing for us inside it. That just takes Nozick's whole question and launches it into this incredibly weird new space. And all of this brings us to the modern version of this choice. It's a dilemma you've probably seen in science fiction, like in that famous Black Mirror episode, San Junipero, where people could upload their minds into a virtual paradise when they died. You see, the choice isn't really pleasure versus reality anymore. It's more like a showdown between two different versions of a perfect world. One version lets you escape your physical body entirely. No more sickness, no aging, no prejudice. You get a perfect, curated life forever. The other version champions reality. It says no, let's value authenticity, shared experiences, and finding meaning in our imperfections. A life that ends, sure, but one that's truly real. And that really forces us to ask a tough question. What does it even mean to be human? Is it our empathy, something that comes from going through tough times together? Is it just playing for no reason at all? Is it the real connections we make with other people in a world that's messy and unpredictable? These are the things that are on the line. And that leads us to the final, and maybe the most important question of all. For someone who's dealing with a terrible illness, or who's lost everything, this idea of a perfect world, it's not a fun little thought experiment. It's hope. It's salvation. So if that perfect illusion can heal that kind of pain and offer a life of endless joy, does our real messy world even matter anymore? The thing is, this choice isn't hypothetical. It's on its way. And sooner or later, we're all